The veterans triumph as Kuro and Puppy move on and EG crash out. It's TI9, day 4. We'll start with that sound because that's
pretty nice sound.
That's the sound of a broken man recovering from EG's elimination. Day 4 of the International 9 in Shanghai.
Day 5. Or no, day 4. My bad.
Day 4.
Adam's
everyone's losing it.
Yeah.
The 4th daily of the main event for us here too. Here to discuss 3 series and, I don't know, maybe an all-star match and some hero, but probably not, let's face it. Marco, how are you doing?
Good evening. I look forward to conducting this therapy session of heartbreak and agony. That's pretty much it.
Do your best, yeah. And Adam, how are you feeling? Feeling pretty bad?
Not happy. Yeah, things just get worse and worse every day. Every team I want to win doesn't win. Whether it's selfish reasons for fantasy team or just teams I actually like. So,
the only
bad.
The only positive to all this is that my EG tattoo is just going to become VG. It's going to change one of the letters a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like, guys, there's only one thing left. In order for OG to lose, the only way that they lose is you have to embrace them and support them. The more shade you throw at them, it just empowers them. And the only time they'll lose is when you finally embrace the look at
Adam, you're going to have to take one for the team. You've got a bad record. Jump on the OG train.
And see it back out.
Yeah. It might be worthwhile if I'm a sleeper agent. Otherwise, I'll be full all in, and then they'll lose, and I'll just continue to be sad. So,
yeah.
Can we just talk about the one happy thing that happened with the new hero?
Yeah,
and then
sure.
go into the sad parts? Cause
I'm up for it. Go on. Tell us about this new hero. Or your thoughts on the new hero.
I just think she looks really sweet. Her name's Spitfire. I like that she's a keen grandma character, and that I think she must be Timbersaul's aunt or something because he calls her auntie. So it's like super, super cool. She looks like a lot of fun. I like the keen like race of characters because they're just really all funny.
Which ones are the Keens in the game at the moment? So Timbersaw and
Sniper.
Oh, Sniper.
It's like, the heroes that use technology and stuff. Little goblin people or keen people. They don't use magic. They just use their tech.
Yeah, like Tinker.
And techies and
right.
I don't know. It's like light and funny, and I just like heroes like that. I know that maybe some people were upset that it wasn't grim and dark art style. And it's like, well, there's a lot of really absurd hero lore and characters that don't make a whole lot of sense in Dota, and I think that's part of what makes it really fun. If everybody was really grim and dark and brooding, it'd just be too edgy. You got to have heroes like Bristleback and Tusk, and
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Warcraft characters, which are the old school Dota 1 heroes. I was keen for some, similar to Stan, some hard carry, just basic bitch ninja hero that hits creeps, something like that. But this one's quite cool. It reminded me of Borderlands, that little trailer, actually.
Definitely, yeah. I definitely got Borderlands vibes. It's also cool to see a female character that's old, like an old female character, because that's something that games don't do. They usually do, it's like the young, sexy female character with no armor. Or the armor's like not having any armor.
This is a grandma that bakes cookies and has the biggest bun of hair you've ever seen. Bigger than her whole body.
It's almost like Keeper of the Light female version, like old grandma style. That was cool. So I did like that.
That's a good point.
And then in terms of the abilities, I mean, who knows, but looked pretty cool riding on the back of that. The question is that thing she's riding on going to be her permanent mount, or is that just the ulti? That's what I want to know.
I bet that's her mount.
Because I bet it's a mount.
Yeah, Timber's got his whatever you might call it.
Machine.
And I don't know. I feel like that's something. Yeah, she'll probably be in a mount. I wonder if she's melee or ranged. She could just be on top with that machine gun, pepping things, or she could, they have the dragon right click.
Yeah. Did they say fall for Mars and then it took until March or something?
They said, I think they said early next year or something.
Oh, okay. So this one hopefully is not too far away.
I think it'd probably be reasonably soon after TI.
Yeah, it might come with that big patch, the big patch, post-TI patch.
Just something to keep people interested. I really like how the voice acting was sweet. Like the video was just so well done.
Yeah, it was a cool bit.
And then they take the cookies and she's like, I never offered to share. And then she just shoots spat out of the sky and melts Timbersaw. And it's like, yes.
Yeah. Dota then, first series of the day, RNG versus Team Liquid. Liquid continuing their run all the way through the lowers. TI7 they came all the way from lower bracket round 2, and then TI9 now they're trying to come all the way through lower bracket round 1. Game 1, quite a fun game. In fact, I thought both games in this series were really fun. We got to see a support IO and mind control offlane Night Stalker, the Come Down special. New hero.
Yeah, it's cool.
First pick of Baden from RNG, kind of questionable. Hard to remember a lot about this game. I just remember that Kuroki, another solid ET, and then the IO Gyro actually looked really strong, and they just sort of brawled. They ran at RNG really hard in the mid game, especially with Night Stalker and IO, and obviously we on an active hero in the Tiny. And they just sort of just kept a high pressure up, I thought, at least in the initial part of the mid game, when they got level 6 on Balinar, using the first nighttime to farm, and then the second nighttime to just run at heroes, run at heroes.
Yeah, I think Liquid definitely executed a much stronger draft and strategy. There'd be times in that game where RNG just did not have damage. They have an Abaddon, a Potem, and a Centaur, and when you're being run at by an IO and a beefy Balinar who was frontlining with his AoE silence, with a pipe, taking all the attention he could, then you got an ET in the backup, doing some big sleeps. It felt like they couldn't kill heroes. Then we got like 15 kills all game on RNG's side. It just felt like they didn't quite have the damage. Even in the mid game when it looked like RNG were a bit ahead on gold, Liquid knew their draft so well that they'd take fights and come out on top because the damage output of RNG just wasn't quite enough, and Liquid's draft was too strong. I mean, GHIO it's a first bannable hero. He plays it incredibly well, and Liquid know how to play with it incredibly well. Maybe they didn't punish the IO hard enough in the early game when they have spells that can kill heroes, but then it got to the mid game. Gyro's just flying with farm. IO's pretty fat with a mech glimmer. Balinar gets fat. They couldn't touch them eventually. It felt like pretty 101 Team Liquid playing a tier 2 team. Very one-sided, I felt. It was quite fun to watch, but one-sided, very one-sided.
Better brawling, better spellcasting, you think, or just better draft?
More so draft and execution. They knew the limits of Liquid's hero. They could just withstand the pressure that RNG had. Like, Setsu couldn't output enough damage. Lifesteal doesn't come online fast enough. Centaur, Potem, Abba do not output damage. Liquid sustain with IO and Bala. I felt they had just a better draft and execution.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this game, Adam?
Abaddon was flexed to a 5. Normally they do flyby on 3 Abaddon, but Afu had like 3 self-suicides or self-denies.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. And Night Stalker maxed Crippling Fear, which was pretty cool. He was solely there just to punish the fact that Ember, Spirit, and Mirana need to use their mobility spells to get away, and you can't if you're just silenced for 8 seconds at nighttime. So that was pretty cool.
It was a really good pick. I think it was last pick, right?
Yeah, it was 21st, and then the last pick was Lifestealer, and Lifestealer really didn't have a good run today, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, and I think Night Stalker's even good against Lifestealer, because you just don't let him rage, if you're on top of them, you can kind of man fight them. It's just so annoying if you're hugging. You're just really all depend on the rage timing, and then if you just don't even get to cast your spells because there's this max move speed guy on top of you silencing everyone.
Game 2 then. Last pick, Arc Warden, looking pretty disgusting. This game goes pretty late. I mean, an hour and 18 minutes, so basically an hour and 20. It felt like a back and forth game. RNG took some really good fights, particularly one on Radiant's top shrine, in which Setsu I think gets a triple or an ultra, and things are looking quite nice. In the end, though, they kind of leak some weird deaths, and Tiny Weehar gets to the point where he has double Daedalus, Echo, Ags. And he is literally just blowing up heroes. Like Arfu and Lanam on a Bane and Shadow Shaman are just food. Even Flyby is just food. And if you don't have a 4-star to get out of the way of that tree toss, you are dead 100% at that point in the game. And so it got into one of those super late game situations that we've seen a lot, kind of dancing around, a lot of tension, and then I felt like the difference was that these little picks, like Monet just got bursted at the start of a fight as a gyro. Then both teams disengage, Liquid push, Monet has to buy back. Then a big fight happens where a lot of Team Liquid died. Miracle played quite aggressively with Arc Warden, with his main hero. He had a couple of quite feedy deaths. But in the end, they have a big fight and he can just buy back and continue pushing the throne. Whereas, say, Monet doesn't have a buyback, or Setsu. I think Setsu did have a buyback all the way to the very end, but Monet and, say, Lanam and Arfu, they don't have a buyback because they've been nuked by this crazy tree toss shenanigans earlier in the game. And so Liquid kind of just come through in the end with a mixture of Arc Warden, Spark Wraith, Annoyance. Good pick-offs from Sanking, I thought. Mind Control had some really cool chase downs, particularly one in the top area of the map that I remember. I can't remember who it was, perhaps I think Gyro or Flyby or something. And Weehar just blowing up heroes. Late game Tiny looked stupid with Tree Toss.
Yeah, I think looking earlier, I think the mid and the early game were quite interesting as well from a draft perspective, because RNG drafted these really strong single target heroes, but with very strong lane dominance. So an Ench and a Bane and a Rasta. These 3, 4, 5 are known for winning lanes, but they're very single target. On the other hand, Liquid had Sanking, AA, Tiny. They've got way better teamfight because their spells are hitting 3 targets at once. So to me, the name of the game was RNG needed to win lanes and then push that advantage through into the mid game. But it was interesting because Liquid kind of they didn't lose lanes as much as RNG would have liked. They kind of soaked the pressure. They played well and came out into the mid game marginally ahead. And then to me, this is favouring Liquid because then these skirmishes where you've got maybe 2 or 3 heroes would happen. And in a case like that, if you've got AA Sanking just blowing 2 heroes at once, it's much more powerful than single target Grip or single target Shackle. So then I felt worried for RNG that the plan hadn't gone how it should. But then to give credit, Setsu on his OD, I felt kept them in the game because he got farm on his OD, and he kind of dragged the game to a point where he was this serious X factor where he could blink, hex, blow, hammer, and Liquid had to be really wary. But then Liquid went, okay, you've kind of clawed it back. You can match us in the mid game, but then we've got an Arc Warden and this stupid X factor of a Tiny. And Liquid then felt confident to go, we'll just play this stupid Arc Warden super late game where you've just got 50 Spark Wraiths barricading you into the base. We're also going to give you this threat of a Tiny Tree Toss that could blow you up out of nowhere in 1 second. And eventually those 2 cheesy factors, if you like, were able to break RNG. And I think this Tiny and this super late game Tiny has been a very much X factor of the TI so far. And I really think straight after TI they're going to change this, because to me it's too gimmicky, too strong of a gimmick really, of a mechanic that we can pick this hero. All he needs is literally Ags Daedalus. You get to 40-50 minutes in the game and you might have 4k HP and you could be dead in a second if you get crit. it's a bit too silly, and I think Liquid have done well to not exploit, but to prioritize that, this crazy strength that this hero can have in the super late game.
But they pick its second phase, like it gets all the way to the second phase. It's kind of crazy.
It got second phase, but as we saw with Secret, they were first phase in Void.
Oh yeah,
Void Tiny.
Void Tiny combos, legit.
People are recognizing that this hero, it has its merits in the early and the mid game, sure, and it's still a strong hero in the late game with its items it can get. But then when you've got a hero that can literally just blow up thousands of damage in a second, every 8 seconds maybe, whatever the cooldown on Tree Volley is, it adds a new it adds an element that is, I mean, super strong, really. So
the hero has no downtime anymore. It doesn't fall off, because it used to be, we all know what Tiny can do in the early mid game and mid game in general, just blowing heroes.
Yeah,
it used to not really be a great late game hero at all.
Yeah,
because the blow potential, just the nuke potential, just falls off. Now, like you say, you get Ags Daedalus, and it's like, well, this hero doesn't fall off anymore. It just becomes, I've got a spell. I don't even know what the cooldown is, but it's crazy low. It's like 15 seconds or something.
12.
12, yeah.
Stupid.
Every 12 seconds, if you're standing in my tree toss radius, you're dying. 100%.
It can deal between, say you get to the late game, the range of damage that a tree toss could deal is, say you hit all 8 of them, with your chances to crit, you could maybe deal 1,000 or a bit more than 1,000 damage, or you could deal 6,000 damage, and that's the game decided, because you just blow up the enemy gyro who's got 40k net worth in a second. And I find it a bit annoying, but Liquid happy to bring out some cheesy, strong heroes, so whatever. Maybe I'm salty, who knows.
You want to get on the China bandwagon.
Yeah, China would never do this. China's got respect.
Yeah. How is this even balanced?
Yeah, load up.
Alright, is it my turn?
Yeah.
To go off?
Yeah.
I mean, Marco kind of already talked about it, but I thought this was super cheesy, and I hated every second of it, because I thought RNG outplayed Liquid, and they just got completely cheesed out of the late game, and I don't think Tiny Tree Volley survives. I think if you draft like Chrono with it, that's fine. You're playing towards a combo, but there was no combo here. It was just, that just taking out the fact that it went a stream late game and Miracle made double damage at runes all the time, just so it became even more of a cheese fest. But they were absolutely wrecking team fights. And then all of a sudden, they would lose 3 heroes because they happen to stand next to one another. And
then they get the Echo Saber slow on every tree, which is a serious bug. There's that's a legit mechanic.
Why does Tree Volley attack damage? Why does it 120% damage? Why does it have bonus damage? Why does it proc attack modifiers on every hit to where your Echo Saber slowed on every hit? Why does it have True Strike? It's True Strike. Why does this 70,000 gold gyrocopter just get blown up from 4,000 to nothing through all of his he has Scotty, BKB, and Satanic, and he gets 100 to 0'd, and you're not even close to the Tiny. Like, the Tiny is 1,300 range away throwing all these trees. And that last fight, they killed a Miracle without buyback, and it was like, they're going to do it, and then all of a sudden they lost 2 heroes just out of nowhere. And I don't know, I was very frustrated. I thought GH played really well. He stole Astral, and OD had Ags, so he had 2 charges of Astral.
Yeah,
and
cool.
That was like insane saves, and they were really. It was going to be a really hard late game, but I think they underestimated the amount of damage that a level 25 Enchantress with Ags and all the talents and
MKB
and Moonshard, like he 100 to 0 the Miracle while he was just trying to micro his Spark illusions. Or Tempest Devil. That's another thing. We didn't even talk about the Spark rates. That was so ridiculous too. There's like the Roche control and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, Miracle had 126,000 hero damage, which is insane. And he played pretty good, but I thought he leaked a lot in the team fights because it's really hard to keep track of 2 heroes with all those buttons. And I don't know. I was really upset at the game because of how cheesy I thought it was.
Yeah, I do.
Not to mention, I did go full RNG on my fantasy team because I wanted, because you needed them to win, and then they went to the next round and they would have more games.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get into the top 100, so I needed to play like the underdog to get that to happen, to give myself more of a chance. And then it was so gross.
I don't
it's
think
True Strike. Oh, it's True Strike.
RNG were not prepared for it at all. They had no Ghost Scepters or E-Blades in their entire team. I mean, just to get my OG fanboy hat on for a second, when OG played against Vici in the groups and they were against this super late game double Daedalus Tiny, they had E-Blade or Ghost Scepter on 4 heroes. So I feel like, especially Gyro, he should just get an E-Blade, I think, and just have it. He's got so much gold, and just E-Blade yourself. The cooldown's the same as Tritos.
That's the thing with these cheesy strats, is that you could be competent players playing well in the game, but then
taken out of your comfort zone.
You're out of your comfort zone with this really
this
strong,
thing you haven't seen before,
precise, specific, gimmicky thing that you've never seen, and it's simple solution. Everyone pick up a Ghost Scepter. Now Tree Volley's not as much a thing, even though you could still play around it. Blah blah blah. Okay, that's how you fight it. But RNG obviously, it's a lot to ask, and
it completely
they did play really well.
It completely destroys Bane and Shadow Shaman. They both have long channel you can't disables, and it doesn't even matter that you have a BKB because it's physical damage from a 1300 range. That seems, it makes sense why it is like that, but that feels kind of even more cheesy about it too, is that you can't itemize the same way for both parts of his damage output, the magic combo and then early game and then physical in the late game.
And you can nuke from trees as well. You can stand in trees so you're out of vision and just do it straight up. I want to try it in my pubs now, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's
the thing, it's like, it's almost like a Pudge Hook or a Mirana arrow. They were just kind of just throwing out a whole bunch of trees and like, oh, look at that. We almost, if we had crit a little bit more effectively, rolled a little bit higher on this one 12-second cooldown, their Giga farmed carry would have just got exploded and we win the game. And the thing is like, also Weehaw was really like kind of throwy. Like he did that time where he blinked in. Do you remember that?
There was one that was so bad.
Toss, and it's like, it wasn't that. I don't want to get too flamey, but it's like, just not. It's just like,
flame him.
Why would you do that? It's like, it's not even that you're playing that good. It's just that this hero has a huge AOE like blow up everything. Ability. Anyway,
yeah.
And it's like, this continues on. I think Tiny is the hero of the tournament. I think it's going to completely warp the rest of the meta. I think.
EG
for the rest
EG
for the series.
To be fair, I don't think it's only got 51% win rate.
I don't think it's overpowered at certain stages of the game. I think it gets overpowered when you get Ags Daedalus. I think that's where it becomes ridiculous.
For sure,
the stat of what's its win rate when the game's 45 minutes plus, that'll be the interesting one.
Because we've seen
it could be a
mid one.
Who knows?
We've seen mid one and Sumail like not have good Tiny games, and then it's not good. Like Tiny itself isn't broken. It's just this new Ags ability is broken.
It's really pretty stupid.
I don't think you should be able to have progression where it's just normal linear regression, and then just because you're Tiny and now the game's 45 minutes in and you pick up Ags, that you're able to now, it's no longer this linear progression where you bloody jump up to like 5 times a stronger hero. That's a bit silly to me.
Yeah, it's definitely should be changed. I feel like anyone watching these games with Tritos Daedalus would agree that this shouldn't be in the game.
Yeah,
it needs to be changed. Let's go to the second series of the day then. Secret versus Infamous. This was kind of sad. I definitely wanted Infamous to go further. I was really down for the Peru Dota Cinderella story. But they end up falling to Secret 2-0. First game, though, we get a Ricky.
Ricky middle.
Mid-Ricky, Chris Luck Ricky. Super exciting stuff. Hector PL, Puppy doesn't mess about and he just bans Wraith King first phase. Definitely smart decision for them to make. Nisha, pretty solid Void. I thought standout performance, probably mid 1 Earthshaker was really, really sick. Some big echoes, using buyback well, and I think one of the big game deciding fights, he just buys back and turns the fight. And the Mag PL / Mag Ricky strat looked good for a while, and Hector was diving tier 4s of Aegis for a bit, but Secret hold, and then once they'd held that high ground push, it felt like they were going to
swung.
It swung, yeah. Based off that, it felt like good, yeah.
Or just Shadow Shaman played out of his mind for the first bit of the game and became a real problem, and then they just were like, okay, we're just going to kill Shadow Shaman first every single time, and they did, and then it kind of just fell apart, the team fight wise. And then Chris Luck, I thought he played well as Ricky, and then he got punished a couple times. He basically could not show himself on the map later at all because he just got solo chronoed twice in a row, and he's just dead. Because he has 1900 health with a BKB, and it's just, you can't live.
Yeah, I think Infamous played really well. Different players played really well for different segments of the game, but they weren't consistent enough as a team throughout the whole game. Like Chris Luck on his Ricky in the early game, mid game, he was doing decent, making kills happen, was doing a good bit of work.
You missed that kill.
Okay. Nothing too big. Hector in the early mid game, really consistent, good farm. He was top net worth by a couple K most of the early and mid game. Really good farm. Like we've said, Schofield on Rasta doing mad work. Even Magnus had a lot of net worth and was making a couple things happen. But then I feel like they kind of lost their composure a bit. I think they missed a couple big global silences. I think their teamfight execution was a bit disjointed a couple times where Ricky would the target PL's on and the target Ricky's on. Sometimes maybe was different and then we don't have the right smoke screen out or something. In particular, there's also the bottom push they did. They have an Aegis on the PL, but then they dive tier 4s. Ricky's also not diving with him, so they don't get this kill, and Hector's way out of position, and then his whole team gets dragged out of position, and a bit of composure wasn't there from Hector. And Secret were able to just hold their own. Like you said,
Infamous had taken the range racks on the opposite lanes, and it just didn't matter.
They were in the driving seat, but like you said, with the picking off Rasta, Secret knew what they needed to do. Yeah, they were really tight. They know how to win a game of Dota. They're going to kill this hero first every single time, and they did that. They also know how to use buybacks. They used it perfectly. Nisha on his Void. He's not doing any throwy stuff like, a couple bad deaths maybe in the early, but when it comes to the big team fights, he's not throwing like Hector on his PL was. Mid one, like we've said, was super consistent. More consistent, I think, than Ricky was in the mid-late game, so ended up being kind of a straightforward Secret win, even though, again, they're behind in the mid game and down racks.
Schofield ended up 3-16, and it seems like he had a bad game, but he really had a pretty decent early game. Good game as
it did get to a point when Secret had won it maybe 35 minutes, but then it takes them 15-20 minutes to end, so the stats do look pretty warped. Secret really took their time to finish the game.
Definitely, they took their time, and also, they know how to win games, they know how to draft as well. They banned the Wraith King, and then they first two Tiny Void. The killer combo straight up in the first phase. And then they managed to pick up the Shadow Demon as well, so...
it was good.
Pretty solid drafting as well, I suppose.
Good draft.
They definitely
Hector played... Hector's items, he has 14-minute Manta, 18-minute Diffusal, 23-minute Heart. That's as fast as you could ask.
That's
for
insane.
PL. I thought it was just going to be they have a PL problem, and he got a 29-minute Butterfly, and it's that is the PL problems, but it just they just died.
They had what they needed to win. They played up to 23, even maybe 30 minutes. They played how they needed to play, but then when it comes to executing a high ground push, or when you force a team fight and execute that team fight, they crumbled. And Secret didn't. Secret capitalized, and it became easy after 35 minutes once they turned it around.
Yeah.
And Zai this game, he was tiny, and he went... he did have the Ags Daedalus, but he got a Battle Fury because he was against a PL, which also would apply Cleave. So, because we want Tree Throw to do that. We want Tree Volley to be able to do that. Too.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Game 2 then. Another secret win. Only 10 kills coming out from Infamous. This was stompier. I mean, 35 minutes. Again, it's secret. They probably could have ended earlier. Yapsaw, the classic Enigma, maybe his signature hero these days, along with Rubik, of course. Tiny again. Tiny, the same first two. Tiny, Void. They just straight up first pick Tiny, which is responded to with a Shadow Demon Tide. A Tide that, by the way, ends up being position 5, which is very bizarre. And then the Void picked on 10. Felt like they never really had a good chance. Storm never really had a game. He sort of died a couple of times early, got chronoed, and it sort of fell over for them really quickly.
Tide whiffed a couple Ravages really poorly, I felt.
He panic ravaged once for no reason.
Hector, he still gets, 18-minute ready, but I felt like there was a couple fights where he joined when he shouldn't have joined, so he got cracked a little bit, I felt. The Storm, Chris Luck, he didn't lane mid, because Tiny was mid, so Storm went to a safe lane. Kind of did okay, but they kind of got schooled pretty early on, right?
Yeah. Thoughts on this game, Adam, if you got any?
Well, there was a point where I guess they had 28 minutes where Hector had all of his items. He had Midas, Phase, Radiance, Halberd, and AC, and he just kind of walked in and died. And then it kind of just ended. Yeah. You remember that? There was a point where he just had they were time for them to fight, and he just kind of died alone.
Yeah, the game was over for about 15 minutes, I felt.
But it's if there was ever going to be a hold, it was here it is, and then it's well, okay, we just lose.
That's the nail in the coffin, yeah. So I had a couple of really good black holes. One particularly where Storm zips in for a big fight, and I think someone else, I don't know, comes in quickly out of woods or out of vision, and he just snap black hole on 3.
Yeah.
And that was in the mid lane, just over the river, just into the dire river. And that was a really cool black hole, sort of clipping 3 on the very edge.
I think drafted again, secret draft a lot better. And I don't know what Infamous should have picked, but if you look at 16 minutes, they've got on Zaya a Valads and on Yapsaw a Greaves and an Urn on Puppy, okay? With just those 2 items, I don't think Infamous have damage. They can't kill them. They've got a Lifestealer who's not got Rady. Yeah, maybe just gets Rady, but he can't even click right through a Greaves. You've got a Storm. Okay, he's got a Kaya at 16 minutes. Okay, have fun trying to kill Secret. Just, it felt like they could never, ever output enough damage.
No Dooms used in this game.
Doom
felt like
was
Doom
non-factor.
Really non-factor, didn't cast spells particularly.
Doesn't matter if there's a Ravage. The Shadow Demon, Soul Catch can be OP sometimes, but Secret, I don't know. Looking at the heroes and looking at the game was so simple for them to win.
Yeah, Infamous's lineup can't do anything. You have 5 position Tide and then 4 position Shadow Demon, 3 Doom, which is really greedy and a bad laner, and then Storm, who's greedy, and Hector's not going to fight for the first 20 minutes. So what are the team supposed to do?
Storm can maybe pick off a Doc if Doc doesn't have one hero with him.
Yeah, and Puppy ends up 12-2 and 14, by the way.
Puppy had a really good game as well. He got some sick Doc ults.
Yeah. The game, if Infamous were to have any chance, you needed some crazy tempo Storm Spirit, just super snowballing, but it felt, that's so almost impossible.
Maybe not Rady on Lifestealer, and maybe an Armlet Dezo with the Storm zipping and getting kills, because, he got the Rady, but continued to farm and not fight. But the Rady, they just get a pipe. Well, they've just got a lot of heal and sustain on Secret, so the Rady's a non-factor, it feels like. Yeah. Rather, you should maybe look to pick off someone with an Infest bomb or with a Doom bomb. None of that ever happened.
And this game felt like a Secret stompy secret win that you'd seen throughout the DPC.
Yeah.
This is what it felt like, Yap's on an Enigma, and it feels like secret win the lanes anyway, even though he's AFK jungle, and that's like the archetypal secret win, and that has been absent during the main stage until this game, I suppose. But Infamous also largely doing it to themselves with their draft, like we've already discussed.
I mean, Infamous didn't even have any lane winners. Doom tied, but the Doom seemed underwhelming, and then the tied to 5, so that didn't matter.
Yeah, they lost all 3 lanes, and you can't win a game of Dota in Pro if you lose all 3 lanes, unless you have like the Supreme late game or the team fight lineup. But that was actually secret. They had the team fight lineup, and they won all 3 lanes. So
yeah.
So final series of the day then: Liquid versus Evil Geniuses. Second outing for Liquid. EG bowing out 2-0. Disappointing series, I think, for the neutral. Obviously, extra disappointing for EG fans because 2-0 in it. This first game was quite competitive, I suppose. It felt much more competitive than the second game. Kind of coming down to one sequence, one fight, I would say, at the top where EG don't use their buybacks in a very bizarre way, where they don't use them and then they use them when their core's already dying. And then sort of like a chain feed just effectively gives Liquid an insurmountable victory. We last picked Tinker in this game. Avoid coming out, but no Tiny. EG banning the Tiny. I thought Tinker wasn't really a big factor in this game. Crit had a good game on Lina, I suppose. Arteezy had kind of a rough game on Lifestealer, again, getting involved when he didn't need to, which cost him maybe a minute or two of farm. He only gets his Radiance at 19 minutes in this game, which is quite slow, given that he didn't have the worst kind of lane. And Liquid effectively take a fight that wins them the game, would you say? Do you think this game comes down to that one fight, or do you think the seeds were already sown before that?
No, I think it is so incredibly disappointing because the entire result was from the outcome of this one fight. In terms of play performance, looking at EG, I think everyone played well, apart from Arteezy. Like you say, there was 2 fights where maybe he walks into or TPs into, but doesn't need to because it's not a fight, or even might die a couple of times doing so. He's also not got Relic or Rady, so it's pointless. He's wasted his time when he could have been farming. That, to me, puts him at a below-average performance, but I think Sumail Kunkka smashed it, Fly was fine, S4 Scent was fine, Crit was also exceptional. Game was fine, like, it's a pretty competitive, equal game.
They had an AK lead.
Yeah,
when they lost. Yeah.
Tinker, Liquid are just relying on this Weehar Tinker to kind of cheesy drag the game, chrono, like, take it cheesy late game style, but EG are kind of like, fine, we're in the mid game right now, we'll just find the favourable fight. We've got Heart and AC on Lifestealer and Hex and BKB on Kunkka. Like, game is fine, we can win the mid game fights and close it out from there. It just comes down to literally one fight where Fly and Crit die, maybe EG get 1 or 2 kills, I think only 1. They're on the retreat, Lifestealer and Kunkka getting chased by Liquid, getting chased by Void and Tinker.
Crit, S4 and Fly all have buyback available.
S4's not dead at this point. It's literally just Fly and Crit dead, and for a chase that goes over 20 to 30 seconds, neither of them two buy back.
S4 is dead, I think.
No, there's 3 EG heroes, Centaur and Kunkka and Lifesteal running away from Team Liquid because
Arteezy jumps into S4.
He jumps into Centaur to try and run away. I actually think there's a moment when Void gets torrented that Artor could have TP'd out because he still had Rage going, but he doesn't. He decides to go into Centaur and try and run away because they were just looking to escape and disengage, but Liquid were hot on their heels. They've got a Tinker with Rearm Blink and Void obviously going to chase. You can't actually get away from this. For this entire 20 to 30 second chase, Fly and Crit don't buy back on Shadow Demon Lina. I think if them two buy back, go to Shrine, they're at they're not far away where they're getting chased. They could have just had an engagement start again, 5 against 4, and win, in my eyes. Instead, what happens is they don't buy back. Liquid just catch out 5 or 4 against 3, these EG cores. S4's the first to fall, I think. then he's dead. Then there's a buyback from maybe Fly and Crit, and Fly TP's in and dies. And then S4 TP's in and dies, and then Kunkka is now still alive, but the chase continues because it's a never-ending chase, and then Kunkka dies, and then there's a buyback, and it was the most moronic, public, retarded kind of chain feed I've ever seen in my life. I honestly think, hand on heart, that Crit S4, Crit and Fly, buyback, go to Shrine, make an engagement happen again, they win it. If that doesn't happen, you've just use your buybacks to save your cores, which is fine. It's just, instead, they choose the worst possible scenario of chain feeding, chain buybacking, chain TPing in and dying, and after that, I mean, Liquid is just, it's actually a joke. It's like what you'll see in the worst of your pubs. It's unbelievable, and from that moment, they obviously lose the game. It's the biggest throw I've ever seen. Honestly, so disappointing.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm done.
Marco's done. He's back. Marco's done. He's on the bit.
I was thinking maybe they didn't have TP or something, because I don't know.
Well, they did
really, or they didn't have good communication. That was for sure, because I think it probably went on way longer than what they thought. I don't know.
S4 bought back and TP'd as Arteezy was dying.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Then Fly buys. So then that happens. Then S4 goes in and dies, and then
Fly waddles up,
and Fly buys back when Sumail's already dying. So that's the bit that
Fly
I didn't understand. If you're gonna buy back, you've got to buy back all at the same time before your cores have died. I don't understand why they only buy back when Arteezy's already dead, and then Fly only buys back when Sumail's already dead. It's like, I don't know. Very confusing. I would say though, to start that fight, Miracle gets a beautiful 3-man chrono on Fly, Crit, and I believe S4 or maybe Sumail. They're all hiding in the trees, and he clips all 3 of them. That was like the dream start to the fight for Liquid. That was amazing. I did think Miracle had a really good game after the laning stage. He died maybe 2 or 3 times in the lanes, and after that, he played really, really well.
They almost killed Miracle in that fight. They ended up being the conclusive fight, but he backtracked. Or a time walked off the Laguna, and then it felt really sad.
Yeah, I remember that moment when they try and burst him. Also, during that chase, I feel like if you buy back on Crit and just throw out an LSA, Liquid would back. If they just see an LSA.
Yeah, I think if 2 buybacks come out from the supports, that Liquid would retreat, because I think if they took the fight, EG would win it. I think EG were very much stronger. Their cores were all very well farmed, and they just needed the Shadow Demon and Lina to be there for utility and disabling. Yeah. I think they would have just retreated because they would recognise we can't keep this chase and fight up, but instead they just chain kill heroes.
It's just a crumble. They had a solid lead.
Crumble.
They definitely had the ability to catch out a Tinker. They had the lineup that could do it.
Yeah. And
they played really well in the early game.
They had all game on.
Really nice runaways with the Centaur ult. They were able to disengage off of Chronos and stuff. It felt really good, and then just one Chrono catches 3 and it all fell apart. And also, we've talked about this multiple times every day. It was hammer home again. We got the classic Kunkka Lifestealer combo. Either Wraith King, Kunkka, or it's just I don't rate that pair. It looked really good, and then you just had. I mean, Sumail stomped mid against Weehaw. I really don't think it's supposed to be that big of a win for the Kunkka. And then
just double the CS, yeah. Yeah,
and then it's just okay, 13-minute Halberd. It's imagine if that was instead a 15-minute Radiance instead of a 13-minute Halberd.
Yeah, and you have Deso Armlet maybe to munch into a Tide and munch into an Ogre.
Yeah.
I mean, just EG, they died 10 times in the first 40 minutes. So this game's 43 minutes. They died 10 times in the first 40 minutes. And then they have 11 deaths in the last 3 minutes. So that really is... That's it right there. They lose the game in a 2-minute stretch where they have 11 deaths. So it's more than a double team wipe just within 3 minutes. And then
Lifestealer can't even have a game against a Void 1v1, just the bashes.
The bashes are insane,
Yeah.
Game 2 then, this was kind of rough to watch. It felt like this Alchemist gets through, Liquid pick up 10th pick after picking an ET, and EG pick Tiny Shadow Demon. Obviously two of the other premier picks of the tournament along with Alchemist and ET, so quite a standard first phase. They try and answer this Alchemist with a Timber pick, a Nurse Spirit. They end up picking Lifestealer at the end. We do see a Darkseer.
New hero.
New hero. First of the entire tournament, including groups.
Only 4 really heroes left, unpicked.
Yeah, so I was really hyped to see the Darkseer. And going into the game, the panel and people were saying, a lot of pros say this is the worst hero in Dota. Team Liquid had a plan. The first part of the plan is the fact they have Mind Control, who's maybe the best Dark... I mean, I've seen some insane Zai Darkseer games, but Mind Control is definitely up there. One of the best Darkseer players, definitely a specialist. They have a plan for it. They're going to put it solo and just see, look, you've got this Iron Shell spell, try and get what you can in a solo lane, because we're going to tri-lane our Alchemist because we know this is our win condition. And they put the Miracle and Ember Spirit mid. And EG, Crit said in the post-game interview that they weren't expecting the lanes out of Liquid. And I feel like the lanes... I mean, me and Marco were talking about how it felt like EG kind of threw the lanes, basically, with the way that they formed their lanes.
I think the game was lost from minute 0, from when they set the lanes up as they did. I would love to know what EG and Crit thought Team Liquid were going to do, because the comment that Crit made of, they surprised us with Team Liquid's laning, even, I don't care what Liquid do, I don't know why you would ever run Timber in a tri-lane. Maybe, like, what you're thinking? I don't understand. In my eyes, you lost the game because you've got Timber in a tri-lane where you can't get any XP. On the other hand, on the other team, they've got an Alchemist in a tri-lane who's, I'll get a creep, you get a creep. I mean, they were even getting kills in Liquid's tri-lane because they have an ET who's a monster in a tri-lane, whereas EG have a Shadow Demon, Earth Spirit that can't do shit in a tri-lane. Then you've got a Timber who's absolute dog because he doesn't have levels. When simply, put Timber top where he's 1v1 against Darkseer and gets all the creep and farm he wants, and gets all the XP critically. Put Lifestealer bottom. Who gives a shit that it's a Lifestealer? He's just going to hit creep like Alt's going to hit creep. It's fine. It's
doesn't
not
need
like,
XP, yeah.
It's not like you've got a CM farm in the tri-lane that's going to struggle. It's a Lifestealer. You're fine. Literally just like one swap of heroes, and I think EG have got a game. Instead, I think they lose from minute 0 because the Timber is just, it's dog. Liquid winner Alk tri-lane. They've got, imagine Lifestealer. Even if Lifestealer killed Darkseer 5 times in a row, EG still lose. Because who cares if Lifestealer's got XP in the early game? Who cares if Lifestealer's got an armor? It doesn't matter. Everything was on the Timber. Timber had to be the beast that shut down Alk. Simple as.
Yeah.
And so run him in a tri-lane and you're not going to do that. Minute 0 loss. So disappointing.
Ember Spirit Darkseer is a good combo. It was like a really...
some nice combos,
this is like a nice... This was a planned out strat for sure. I mean, they have Elder Titan with the Ember Spirit Darkseer, like a lot of magic damage with the Spirit, being able to reduce the magic resistance, and
Flame Guard plus Iron Shell.
Flame Guard,
the
Iron
damage
Shell
that comes out of that crazy if you're just running next to a hero.
And Lift and Arcane Supremacy from the Rubik, and it's just what did he steal this game that was really... Oh, he stole Disruption. It's just like, okay, your guys are going to pick the save heroes. I'll just be Rubik and I'll steal the save spells. And like he was on point with the steals, like he was with the Astral Imprisonments from the last series.
Yeah, Fly had a bad game in this game. He epitomized by that buyback into Shadow Poison usage that was just a pure... He doesn't use Shadow Poison to kill Mind Control while he's alive. And so I guess he thinks if he buys back and uses it, Mind Control will die.
Because Mind Control's at the shrine.
Because Mind Control's at the shrine area. The Mind Control's already shrining up by that point. So that was just a straight up throw because he had he had a full second, I'd say, before he died to use the spell, and didn't. So that was just a misplay, like mistake from Fly. And obviously 13 deaths, not ideal. Obviously it's a hard game to play a Shadow Demon when you've got a blink Alk at 17 minutes. Alk was super farmed, over a K net worth in this game. Going BKB first just to be safe, to secure the win. Miracle, mid-Ember, played on the edge, played well. And like you say, Mind Control made Darkseer look like a good hero, because when you put it in a solo lane versus a lifestealer, it's just the dream situation. It felt like EG sort of gifted Darkseer the dream situation.
He's definitely... Darkseer is not the hero it used to be where you can first to that. And
definitely,
but it definitely has, if you pick a 21, it definitely has merit. And like you said, he got a free lane, and that gets rid of all the early game, feel bad that's in Darkseer's kit now. Yes. Just like they were totally fine with a lane trade up top. And Arteezy Lifestealer didn't get a minus till 12 still in a 1v1. So
yeah, I mean, it's better than what they hoped for with the Darkseer. Even Liquid didn't think it would look that good. They were hoping to pick Darkseer and just say, look, do what you can in the top lane. Here's Iron Shell. Hopefully get level 2 Iron Shell and you'll be able to get your farm, even if you're sort of bullied out of the lane. But it was even better than that. Mind Control could play the Darkseer like the old Darkseer because he just had a free game.
The only possible saving grace EG could have had is through the mid lane and Smail and Tiny, and I think this is the only game in the main event where Smail has been not looked great. I think in every other game, I think he's looked exceptional. This game, Tiny mid against Liquid, Miracle, Ember mid, and the Ember seemed to do really well against the Tiny because he could get Flame God off, or he could get a sleight of chain, what's it called? Sleight of fist off when there's an avalanche going on. So felt like the Ember was able to stand up to the Tiny, and Tiny wasn't able to have a snowball game, which is what he absolutely would have needed to have against this Alk lineup. And then obviously the Timber is a non-factor, so everything just completely crumbled.
Yeah, well, Sumail went for the max Avalanche build rather than the max tree grab build, so he sort of sacrificed his lane because he knew that they're up against this Alchemist. But by the time the laning stage was over, it felt like they were already at
game was done at 4 minutes. Literally done at 4 minutes. I don't think you could...
Miracle played out of his mind because he Sleight of Fist dodged crit, Rolling Boulder, and Avalanche so many times.
Yeah, it was
like they had the kill set up, and he just would dodge it and then run away or Remnant out, and it's just like, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's so much better than Weehar at Ember Spirit. Not to flame Weehar, but just Miracle's an Ember God. So they literally put Weehar position 1 for this game just because they know what Miracle can do on an Ember, and he proved it again. An exceptional performance. And they have a strat and they execute it perfectly. And EG, definitely put one of the nails in their own coffin in this game.
Hard to say how their mind, how their mental state was after throwing so hard in that first game.
Yeah, I think they were seriously down in the dumps. There's no way. This is obviously not as good as EG can be. EG, they
were one
game series. Like, come on,
one team fight away from top 3. I mean, they took a game off. They were a game up on OG. Yeah. They almost
smashed OG.
Yeah, I mean, I guess sort of the minimum performance you could maybe say is acceptable for EG. They get top 6, and they were one of the top 6 teams coming in. But I mean, for the players, it'll be TI or bust. They don't. Second is the same as 6th is the same as 10th, other than the paycheck. In terms of what they aim for.
Yeah.
Do we think the roster will stick together?
No.
Who do you think will change?
I
think
hard to say.
Gets kicked if anything.
I do think the thing is, Arteezy's a great carry, no doubt about that. Obviously, we know that. I would say Fly is maybe more likely to be kicked just because he's captain, and EG do like to swap their captains around. The 2 players that are definitely safe if they want to stay is Sumail and Crit. I think
Sumail and Crit. Yeah,
they're the 2 best players.
I think, and this is no flame, just for like the sake of change. I think they get rid of Fly and S4, the two people that came in from last year, and I think they get rid of Bulba. Sports, it always is how the players perform. That's not always who takes the fall. It's always the coach that takes the fall. So
yeah, that's true.
They've had 2 years of Bulba, and I think they'll probably just, for the sake of change, make a change. Even though he's a good friend of theirs and everything. Also, it's like this is your last series, and you go down game 1. Do you really want to run back the Lifestealer again? Like, that's how you want to go out? Is 2 Arteezy Lifestealer games? I don't know. Like he can play other heroes. Also, Lifestealer went 0-4 today, so stop picking it. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with Adam. It's like, even if you had this super obviously it's all subjective, but even if you could objectively say Bulba wasn't the issue, you still probably get rid of him just because 2 years is a long time to have the same coaching and the same drafting strategy.
I see the point of mix it up, get fresh ideas.
But I would say the same about Fly as well. I think Fly might be, sees the end of his time at OG in the same way, although EG in the same way rather. But who knows?
I think there's still a decent chance they stick. I think there's a non-zero chance they stick. They do get on well. They have performed decently over the year. They might think we could do another year together. Like VP have been together 3 years, EG have been together 1 year. It's not
Liquid made it almost 3.
Almost 3. It's not unquestionable that they stick together. Honestly, it's not like a VP case where they played extremely shit and have been together for ages.
They're definitely. I mean, no one said they probably won't be the same 5.
Crit said, I feel like Crit said something about it. It's not a fact that things are going to change. So,
and they still almost 1.2 million for 5th, 6th. I mean, it's not.
It's not terrible.
I mean, 5th, 6th. That's a good TI. Sometimes it's just you need luck to go your way. Sometimes that's just.
Need some magic, some inspiration.
You just need a little bit of magic, and it just didn't happen. And that's just. I mean, I think EG still has one of the best organizational histories at TI. I don't think you can shake your head at a 5-6. I mean, normally they do get 3rd. They have a lot of 3rds and a 1st, but 5-6 is disappointing, but not a complete flame out. Especially after the group stage day 2, like they were 1-5 or something.
Yeah, 2-0 Vici, 2-1 Secret. They've obviously good, right?
Yeah,
they just choked at TI low bracket.
Yeah. Well, about all we've got time for.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention that I forgot about, but it's from the first series though. It was the RNG Liquid game 1. I don't know if you guys watched that game. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. Like, do you remember where they didn't want to show lanes to each other? So for the first 90 seconds of the laning phase, the safe laner and off laner for both teams didn't show up on the map, and they just took jungle camps. Yeah, so then when they got to lane, like the 5 position Abaddon was level 3 and Elder Titan was level 3 and Mirana was level 3, and it's like, what's happening? Like, all these supports are 2 levels ahead of the cores, and they're bullying them out of lane. It was so funny.
That was very bizarre. Centaur Lifestealer duo killing a camp.
Yeah.
And then weird. Gyro Nightstalker taking the camp too. It's like, what is this?
What is going on? Yeah. That was hilarious. But yeah, join us again tomorrow. We'll have Vici Gaming versus Secret, then LGD versus OG, and then the winner of that first series will be facing Team Liquid in the lower bracket semi-final. We'll be back here to discuss all. So until then, bye.